Cannabis was banned in Canada from 1923 until regulated of its use became legal in 2001. In the beginning, Health Canada regulated the use of cannabis for medical purpose. Later, the federal government announced that recreational use of cannabis would no longer violate criminal law as of 17 October 2018. Thailand is the first country in Southeast Asia to legalize medical marijuana. Currently, Thailand is discussing whether to legalize homegrown up to 6 marijuana plants. Cam Badley, Chief Corporate Officer of Aurora, cannabis producer firm from Canada, shares his country's experiences and challenges on the path of legalization of cannabis.
Canada is at the forefront in terms of legalizing the use of cannabis. But what's the experience that the country has to been through, especially from the initial stage, that people may have doubt, may have lots of questions regarding its use and whether it will lead to drug addiction? What have you been through?
You know, Canada's experience has been very instructive, and to that I would add the experience of the U.S. states in the United States that have legalized cannabis for consumer use. Before we legalized cannabis for adults to use, adults over the drinking age, basically the same as beer, wine, or liquor, some people had fears that there would be an increase in impaired driving. Or that there would be an increase in underage youth use, or that there would be an increase in drug dependence. And none of these things have happened. This has been studied quite well in the United States. And in fact, there have been some positive benefits. There are studies that show in the United States, the states that have legalized cannabis for consumer use and for medical use. When we talk about the potential at some point of legalizing cannabis for consumer use, is that it is so widely used already. And what we're really doing, and the main policy objective of Canada's government in legalizing cannabis, was to migrate or move the consumers over from the black market, the illegal market, into the legal, regulated, and safer market.
The stages that you have been through, does it start from medical use of marijuana, of cannabis in Canada first before you legalize for adult use?
I'll tell you the way I see it. First of all, we come into this discussion with a great deal of humility. We do not try and push other countries in the world to legalize cannabis for consumer use. We believe that the right thing to do is certainly to create a medical cannabis system to help patients who are not able to benefit from traditional prescription pharmaceuticals. Perhaps those traditional pharmaceuticals aren't working for some patients. In some cases, they can't tolerate the side effects. So we certainly believe in the creation of medical cannabis systems. But what we do not push is the conversation with respect to consumer legalization. We believe that that conversation happens in countries on an organic basis. But we also do think that once countries have an experience with a well-regulated, safe medical cannabis system, it takes some of the fear and the stigma and the worry away and makes it easier to talk about the possibility of consumer legalization.
Listening from your story, it means public policy has to be highly functional and plus well-regulated policy to regulate the use of cannabis or marijuana, which is the topic of concern in Thailand, which is very much debated at the moment. What's the lesson learned that do you like to tell Thai society?
I really would like to share this. It is our belief at Aurora that strong regulation is important to protect patients in a medical cannabis system. And we can see that Canada's system, our national medical cannabis system, for example, is more tightly regulated than nearly all the U.S. states that have legal medical cannabis. We believe that has protected patients very well. Health Canada insists that there be no banned pesticides used on the cannabis while it's growing, so that there will be no dangerous residues left over when these cannabis products are provided to patients. Health Canada also undertakes inspections on a very regular basis of all cannabis production facilities. And these are surprise inspections without warning. So a Health Canada inspector can show up at any of our facilities in Canada or any other producers, cannabis producers' facilities, knock on the door and say, I am coming in. And they can check those things out. And if companies do not abide by those regulations, and we have seen this happen, including recently, they can be shut down. The consequences are serious.
The company has to work very closely with Health Canada in order to comply with strong regulation of its use. The Government of Canada has invested in a formal monitoring system and established a baseline in 2018 through a national cannabis survey for evaluating the impact of the new legislation and to support the development of policy and program initiatives. After legalization for medical and recreational use, it is remained to be analyzed the effects of cannabis use on health and social services and the Canadian economy. Natha Gomonwadin, Thai PBS World reports.